Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Global Book Network. Global Boys here, and I love this show because you get to sit down with actual authors who pride their craft, the things they love and they're passionate about. On today's episode, I am delighted to host Ms. Stacy Graven, the author of Collecting Coconuts. Whimsical that it is, I love the fact of relationships between the forces within. Stacy, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're here today because being an author is kind of like a rarefied club, and so being able just to like iron sharpens iron with somebody else is always a good time. So let's get into it. Were you a lifelong writer, or did you get bit by the authoring bug a little bit later in life?
I think it started for me when I was really little. The first time I remember holding a pen and thinking I could do this for the rest of my life was in the second grade.
What was like a special day? Was it kind of like a oh no, I'm gonna try this? Was it a comic book? What happened?
So it was kind of set up to be a little photo shoot in our classroom. And we had a feather quill pen and they wanted a photo of us just writing. And they actually had to like pull me away from the chair. But I was like, I'm not done yet. And I just was so into the idea of putting a story on a page. And it's kind of stuck with me ever since then.
Oh, it's fantastic. So let's get down to brass tacks, collecting coconuts. What was the moment for you when you decided this is the story I need to share with the world?
My timeline pretty much for it was that my couple of my cousins were on church missions, and I had decided that, you know what, I want to write something in the duration of their mission. Some of them they were out for a year and a half, some of it was 2 years,
Mhm.
and so it gave me a lot of time to think what I really wanted to write about. And I'm a big believer in people can do anything they put their mind to if they look beyond themselves. Um, I personally think to a higher power. Uh,
Mhm.
but it's amazing to see what people can do. And I thought survival fiction, I haven't done much of that before. And that's what I decided to do with this piece.
Wait, so that's your approach is almost analytical. Like, here, here's a genre that's interesting, and I don't really know of it that well, but I'm going to learn it and be immersed in it. That could have been scary or challenging or fun, dangerous. I'm not
Yes,
sure how to
I
go through
think
your
it was
mind.
all of those.
Okay, yeah. So was it like a thing where your social network was like, yeah, man, go for it, or was it like, oh, okay, so you see, we understand, kind of, have fun. Like, what was the temperature check?
My social network was actually all about it. And I very much enjoyed the time I was working on it. At the time, I had a couple friends that really enjoyed video games. And
Mhm.
I'm not as much into those. I'm starting to understand them a little better. But I I just loved the idea of being there with them. And I'd write, work on the book. They're playing their game. And so I'm just sitting there writing while they're doing their thing too. So
Wait, I'm sorry. That's really unique. A lot of times authors say, "No, I need a dark room and don't call me for the next 6 months." But things are happening. Like you're being stimulated by sounds and lights, and you're still working alongside. I mean, that must have been pretty fun.
I think it's really fun for me. I also like the idea of writing in a bunch of different environments because the story happens in more than just a quiet place. And so I think being able to embody all those things that are happening around me really adds to the story and really adds to the experience of writing it.
All right, let's talk about the story. I mean, here's an idea of people who are bound or separated or categorized by faith, the way they look at the world, their perspectives. I mean, it must have been kind of at the planning stage, basically making a tapestry before writing the first word. Or did you put yourself in a position to like just go in head first and start writing and seeing where it ended up? What was the process of writing this one?
Well, it's kind of interesting. The image that's actually on the cover here of Anne in her yellow dress, that kind of came into my head. And once that image was there, I was like, okay, I have to build around this character. And I knew immediately that her name was Anne and that she had to have a Hawaiian and Jewish mix due to the story background that I had set it in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I played with her name quite a bit and then built her character. And then I built Hackie's character and pulled both of their like religious things and cultural backgrounds to build out from them as a person.
So image first, but definitely character has to be supported. What was that like? I actually wanted to know the inspiration for Anne. Like, what did you pull from? Was it many things at once? Like, how do you craft a character as deep and as needing, or something that wants to be as fleshed out as something like Anne?
Well, I actually like to pray before I write for
Hmm.
inspiration. And so I did that very first and decided afterwards to research all the different elements to her personality and how they were implemented because of the environment she lived in. So I did a lot of research on Hawaii and Jewish heritage, and then like there's even their scripture they read. And because she's also a scientist in the book and studying plants and tropical life, I wanted to make sure to know as much as I could about that as well, to really capture what was happening for these characters.
I would say for me, this was the first time I came across someone with both Hawaiian and Jewish heritage. And in fact, I was inspired to actually look up about the crossing of those cultures, especially on the islands itself. What was the research process for you like? I mean, was that something that was, did you uncover things that you didn't believe, like beyond your inspiration? Or like, I'm just so curious about this.
I was thinking, that whole idea of like, even if you've never heard of it, it's still possible. And so I didn't find a ton when I was researching about it, but the things I did find really helped shape how I decide to approach even the writing process of it. Because I wanted to make sure to like capture the language and how much their environment really played into it and how much their perspective of a higher power played into it. And I figured really anything is possible if you put your mind to it. And that's something that I've always believed in and wanted to make sure, like, hey, let's put this story out there of a very minority thing and two maybe even clashing cultures a little bit, because like some of this stuff with Jewish heritage and even the foods they eat in Hawaii, for example, those two things had to somehow find a way to exist in the same sphere. And I really think differences can exist in the same sphere and still provide a space for love and growth and a full human experience.
Oh, that's so cool. A couple of years ago, I had a similar situation where I wrote a story about a Native American slash Spanish flamenco dancer, and that research put me on a path to say, man, there are so many different cultural combinations that really need to be underscored. And yeah, there's a bit of trepidation on my part. Like I'm a guy from Brooklyn, hey yo, bada boom. But what I learned is so much about how we all really want the same things besides our differences, which is pretty cool.
I agree.
So you are a believer that every story has a rhythm and tone, and this one is no different. So talk to me. In collecting coconuts, what's the rhythm? What's the vibe of the book if you were able to put a finger on it?
Yeah, the way it's set up is it goes between Anne and Hackie's story, and he's actually stuck in a mountainous blizzard trying to figure his way through that. And so I just toggle between their two experiences. And then in the book, there's sections that are in italics of their memories they had of certain events before their current circumstance.
Yeah. And was that like the original intent, or would you write the story and said, hey, look, there's a moment there where I can tell this better, more efficiently when it comes to the actual structure of the chapters?
It kind of just flowed naturally to do it that way. I really like just the visual and transitions between going from the snow to the hurricane beach and just kind of back and forth. And then even taking it a step back and going into their experience with their memories.
Yeah. I like the fact there's also a play, and you mentioned this about the environment and the atmosphere and the feeling of nature or that higher power. We'll talk about faith in a second. Using the weather to convey that was pretty interesting, at least on my account. I mean, can I ask you a semi-personal question? Do you have a favorite weather situation? Do you feel more at present with faith when you have like a breezy day or a rainstorm, or is it just all of that?
Well, my favorite is sunny and 75. I like to be warm.
Fair enough.
Can't deny that. But I also just enjoy the variety of weather patterns, and I find like rain running down a window really soothing, and I like being able to feel the rumbling thunder in my chest and just all those different experiences you have with weather. And knowing that someone out there is creating it, like, yeah. I think it's pretty cool.
What happens when people are pushed or when they have a desire that just seems to be an absolute yearning? And I do think all of us as humans, we always want something more, even though we are taught gratitude. Sometimes
Yes.
we look over the fence for asking a little more. You're creating these fleshed out characters who do have certain, I don't want to spoil the book, but they do have certain drives and desires. What's been like your perspective of giving them things to strive for or making sure they have to work for it?
I kind of draw just from life experience. Um, I feel like I've done a lot of footwork to try to share stories, and that's why I still write, is to see how many people I can share these stories with. The story this itself is kind of a being, and I think all these different inspirations we get ought to be shared. And I just I'm almost in a spot where I can't not.
Yeah, no, I totally hear you. No, the reason why I asked that question is that, when you create a fictional character and you do the names and backgrounds, and I think a lot of times it separates the good books from the great ones when you say, oh, wait, this is something that they want and they're going through, heck and high water to get it, or here's someone that is going to put other characters aside to get this. And so there is a bit of like a pull for us as writers to like make it almost either too easy or too difficult. But I didn't get that vibe with this one. Like it really was a cool balance of what everyone wanted and what they desire without making it seem like, oh man, you're really putting them through the ringer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when Collecting Coconuts was sent to you, that first copy was in your hands. Talk to me. What was going through your mind when you held it in your fingers?
I was just so excited. I was like, yay, it's finally printed, and this story can at least touch one person. That's
Yeah.
always my goal, is just to, even just writing in general, I want to make sure that whatever inspiration I get, I'm able to send back out into the world. And being able to write does that for me. And so holding that book and just kind of feeling the cover, I was excited. I actually ran around in a circle and picked the book up, showed it to my husband, and I was like, look, it's finally done and it's here. And it was pretty miraculous for me.
And it took about how long to get the book together from first page to copy in hand? 2 years, a year, a couple months?
So this is actually, I wrote the story in about 2019, and it
Okay.
was just sitting there for a while. And I originally wasn't going to do anything with it because I was like, I'm working on some other projects. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I just felt in me, and maybe this was some spiritual inclination, but I just felt like there's probably somebody out there that could benefit from this story. So I want to make sure they get it. And
Whoa.
so in 2023, I thought long and hard about it, prayed about it, and was like, you know what? Yep, we're going to do this one.
That's fast. So you're saying there's an alternate timeline where this book doesn't even exist in this current form, is what you're saying?
Yes.
I wonder what was the original reason why you said, not now. If you can you remember, can you recall? Or is it just kind of like just the nature of the business?
I think it was more of a confidence thing. I was probably kind of ebbing and flowing in a space of like, can I actually be a writer? Is that even for me? Like, will I fit that role? And so I think it was more of a fight within myself. And I finally was like, no, these are things I want to do in my life, so I'm going to make them happen.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because look, Global Book Network is for authors, but definitely the ones that aspire to do so. And I think a lot of us have a lot of stories that we want to share, or someday, and we have that critic inside to say, I don't know, I mean, no one wants to hear my story. Bookstores are always full with books; they don't need one more. But I'm so glad you went through that. So you said there was a moment in 2022 where you said, okay, now we're making it happen.
Yeah. And it was kind of right after I had done the, because I have 2 other books before this one. And once that second one was out and I was enjoying getting to share the story, I was like, yeah, I got to just do it. Collecting coconuts is worth it.
You have not shied away from saying it, but I will love to have a discussion about this. And that is a role of faith in creating these books. I mean, you're guided by faith. It's your characters are as well. I know we live in a very unique time where it may seem that sometimes it may be too forward or not enough. Was that something you thought about when you were thinking about an intended audience? Or was it kind of an inward feeling of, I'm telling a story I want to tell, I'm going to use the elements I want to use and let the audience decide?
honestly, for me, and even just bringing a little bit of religion here, I feel like all of us were created by a great creator, if you will, and he sent us here to kind of fine tune our gifts and to share them with each other and find all the ways to be united. And I feel like that I owe it in a way, and I want to share in a way that I was sent with this writing bug, if you will, like instilled in me, and I have to use it and share it. And, you know, sometimes stories aren't for everybody, but I figure it's going to reach the people it needs to reach.
So it is a gift. You are chosen, or a path is made apparent to you to follow. That's so cool. That is so
I
cool.
think so. And I'm
Yeah.
very blessed with that and grateful to get to write.
Yeah. And I'm grateful I get a chance to read it, to be honest with you.
Thank you.
So it's available now. The book, Collecting Coconuts, is available now. Has any feedback come out about it? Has anyone said anything about that made you go, wow, or anything in between?
Honestly, it's been more people are impressed with the variety. And I'm honored to get feedback like that, knowing that these stories are available and out for people. It's pretty amazing, and I like that feedback of variety and just that I was able to create some genuine characters that overcome.
And are there any plans to expand that universe, maybe with Anne or with other characters on the Hawaiian Islands or in the other parts of the world in this shared experience?
Actually, it's kind of interesting. All the books are generational. They're related in some way by family line. So they're not necessarily related by story or background or anything like that, but somehow, some way, their family lines connect. And so in my mind, all the characters in all my stories live in the same world right now. It's obviously different when I'm working in other genres, but when I'm
Yeah.
working in this one, they're all related by family.
It must be kind of interesting to juggle so many universes or so many characters in your mind at one time.
Yeah, I think it can get tricky at some points, but overall it's kind of fun. It's almost like creating my own little movie and getting to act out all the parts.
Yeah. And when you're not writing, what do you do for fun? How do you unwind? How do you hang out? How do you recharge?
Music is a big one.
Oh,
I
do you
love
play?
music.
Do you play?
I do. So I love music. I like to play the piano. I like to sing. I like dancing. So I feel like music is another place that it allows you to really be free. And so that would be another area that I kind of just unwind outside of writing.
Yeah, I can't imagine that. Like it feels like within writing and practicing and performing that you live 30 hours a day. Like how do you pack it all? How do you pack it all in?
Um, I definitely feel like over the last few years, my like time management skills have improved. And so I'm able to just kind of use my planner, block things out, and make it happen. And I feel like, divine intervention has been happening, helping me finish things in the right order.
I'm so glad to hear that. Stacey, this has been a cool conversation. Just learning more about you as a creative. Collecting Coconuts is available now, but if someone is watching this episode of GBN and they want to know more about you or connect with you, how they go about doing that?
The best way would probably be my LinkedIn. I check that regularly, and my name on that is Stacy Graven Scott, and I think that's the best way. And then I share email. I like to collaborate with people, so after that, I love conversations.
Are author collabs the same like streetwear? It's like, hey yo, collab? Question mark.
Yeah, I like that.
I love hanging out with you. This is Collecting Coconuts, and this is also GBN, the show where we sit down and chat with authors. Thank you so much for the time, Stacey. This has been a lot of fun.